Hello guys and welcome to SimUK. This is going to be my full review based on 10 hours of gameplay and years of reviewing the MotoGP series. I feel like I've had enough time to look at MotoGP 18, check out all the different parts and test some things out. But before I begin, I must clarify a couple of things. In the video today, I'm going to be showing you my full Red Bull Rookies Cup MotoGP career first race in its entirety.
Welcome back. We're ready for the third free practice session of the weekend.
I learnt this track by racing the full weekend, that includes all 3 practice sessions, and I learnt the track by following and copying the AI into and out of corners. I am effectively a chaser, which basically means I am much faster when I'm following someone else. I can capitalise on their mistakes, and as you can see here in qualifying, I could have taken pole but for a few big mistakes and a minor collision. Now, I'm not claiming to be the best MotoGP rider in the world, because clearly I am not. I don't use an Xbox 360 controller to play games like this, so I'm really out of practice. If you want to see tight lines and consistency, then go watch Robbo46. He is a decent fellow Englishman YouTuber and he plays this game a lot. Although I did get a faster qualifying lap time than him on this. Smiley face. One of the biggest disappointments, I have to say, is that there are areas of the track where you are going to be much faster than all of the AI. And the reason why you're going to be faster than all of the AI is because basically they are all the same rider, with just some minor tweaks and configurations so that some of them go slower. For example, they would have slightly slower acceleration or top end, which is, in my humble opinion, the lazy way of faking true physics or realistic AI, something that you would have seen in the 80s and 90s. Now, in addition to that, I'm playing on the PC with the GTX 970 and I'm running on ultra settings. If you're running on console, then you're going to have to halve all of the performance references and basically double the cost. You think you're saving money by having a console, but I tell you what, they make it back in game prices. In addition to that, I am a hardcore sim fan, and therefore I look for ultimate realism. This means that I'm running on full pro. That's everything set to manual, no assist, no traction control or anything. Everything is turned off. AI difficulty is set to 100%. It's not maximum, which is 120%, but 100% is considered to be realistic in this game. 120% is just more ridiculousness, I guess. I haven't even bothered trying, to be honest with you. So this is technically about as hard as this game gets.
With just a few minutes to go before the race begins.
Now, I would be racing in helmet cam looking for ultimate realism, but until they include head tracking, this just isn't going to be feasible. If I can't look into the corners, I can't find my apex properly. If they fix that, this game would be even better than it is already. I will be giving a brief arcade fan review at the beginning here, but then I'll be giving the hardcore review afterwards. So if you've come here to see the hardcore perspective review, then just hang on to the end where I'll give you more details and information. The final thing I want to clarify is that the game has transitioned to the Unreal Engine, or the Unreal 4 engine I should say. As a result, I do expect some bugs, some hiccups, and in some areas some shortcuts to have been taken. Now, I am taking this into consideration when evaluating the game, but I tell you what, it's not a get out of jail free card. It doesn't allow you, Milestone talking to you directly, it doesn't allow you to take the mickey. Now, I'm not going to mess you around. I'm not going to wait and make you hang on till the end of the review to see what my opinion is of the game. I'm going to tell you now, straight away. I do recommend MotoGP 18, and the rest of this review will be based around explaining why that is. Now, just to clarify, this is not a silver bullet. Many things are still wrong and or missing in this game, and that applies to both hardcore and arcade players. So let's begin, shall we? So first up, as a review for you arcadey players out there, that's for those of you who want the game to look like a MotoGP race and be a challenge, but you're not really that interested in ultimate realism, let's say that. If you pick this game up for PC, then this game is available for about £20, and at that price, I highly recommend this game. If you're going to buy it from Steam for $39.99, then I very loosely recommend this game, and I do mean loosely. I mean, for that kind of money, I would expect a lot more than what you're going to get. But having said that, if you're an arcade player and you get the game at the right price that suits you, then this is definitely the perfect MotoGP release for you. It has a tutorial, which is pretty limited and fairly easy, I have to say. It's running on the Unreal 4 engine, and I think this has made the game look absolutely wonderful. The lighting and the shadows are far more realistic. I think the collisions have been improved as well, although I'm not 100% happy with those. The bikes and the majority of the character models have been improved, and there are new ones there. The tracks look way better and are considerably more accurate thanks to drone scanning. Unfortunately, I don't think that's as accurate on the track itself as laser scanning, but in terms of how the track looks and the size and the shape and the width, I think it's much better. And because of the Unreal 4 engine, in the wet this game looks pretty decent, albeit a little bit shiny. The game basically just looks better from top to bottom in every area. All the models, all the animation, well, some of the animations and cutscenes, it just looks a lot better all over. And bike handling, I feel, is a lot better as well. There are more lean angles available, and it's more responsive, although I've got a concern around that as well. Performance for me is also better. I'm exceeding 60 FPS with these, and that's on maximum settings on Ultra. The only real downside with the Unreal 4 engine is the blurry wheels issue. Interesting to see whether that affects Assetto Corsa's new release when they come out. If you're on console, though, you're likely to be running at 30 FPS, and I've heard so many people talking about stutters and blurry gameplay, not just the wheels, but everything seems to be blurry for people. Performance isn't good. You're basically paying twice the price for half the performance, and I think that's outrageous, I really do. If you're an arcade player and you're looking for a MotoGP game on the PC, this is definitely recommended. If you're on console, I haven't tested it out on PS4 because guess what? Milestone won't give me a game to do a review on. I wonder why that is. Anyway, speculation. The game has got bugs, not many, but some, and they are annoying rather than game breaking. I have had one full system crash, which I can show you in this video actually, and there have been a few button binding issues that I've had personally, and sometimes my settings are not saved, like my bike setup and whether or not traction control should be on. It seems to reset every single time, every single session. Most annoying. Hopefully that'll get fixed sooner rather than later. Audio isn't great, the ambience especially is very poor. I find the bike engines are pretty terrible. We've gone backwards rather than forwards here. It feels very much like MotoGP 16. Maybe at a push MotoGP 17, just to cut and paste. I did say I'd accept a few corner cutting, so this is an area where you say, alright, but they need to get this right. I mean, Milestone have never got the bike engines right, the audio right, and the ambiance is just totally missing. There is no ambiance in this game whatsoever. So bad are the bike engine balancing that I quite often I can't hear my own engine over the noise of all the other engines. You might say that's realistic, I don't know. If I'm closer to my bike engine than anyone else's bike engine, I feel like I should hear it. And one thing as well is when you're riding a bike for real, you can feel what the engine is doing, and that really helps you understand what the bike is doing or about to do. We haven't got that here, so it's so important that you can hear that engine, more so than in reality. So I mean, that's where reality and gaming have to sort of ebb and flow and overlap each other a little bit there, just to make it fair. The AI is much more like MotoGP 16. MotoGP 17, I felt the AI had actually improved quite a bit, but no, we've gone back to MotoGP 16 era. They're all the same, all the animations are the same, they're on a rail, they all want to stay on the line. It doesn't matter if you're there, they're not trying to avoid you at all, unless they touch you. If they touch you, they'll back off. Why can't they just back off before they touch you? I don't understand. It's a very simple difference, but anyway. And oh yes, and dive bombing is most definitely back in MotoGP 18. So moving on then to the slightly more hardcore simulation fans review, I actually do recommend this game to you on PC only and not at £40, which is a total rip-off because of the lack of content. But at £20, I actually think this is a pretty good buy. And if you can get it for less than that, if you just hang on till there's a sale and you pick it up for £10, £15, I think you're going to be quite happy with it. Especially if there's been some development and improvements and some patches and some bug fixes, etc, etc. Unreal 4 engine just makes this game look brilliant, the performance is excellent, and the handling is significantly improved. There are, this is important, this is a big step for Milestone. It's not perfect, right? But it's an indication that they're moving in the right direction. I went with IA Systems to demo the HS2 to Dorna last year at Silverstone MotoGP, and we spoke to them in great detail about why MotoGP from Milestone is not hitting the mark, and they said they would pass that information on, and it seems like they have, because changes have occurred. There are now simulation aspects that have been included: bike damage, tyre wear, and possibly even tyre temperature, although again I think this is an area that needs a bit of work, let's say. It looks like the real thing. It really looks like the real thing because of the improved shadows and lighting. Everything just looks great. It's like I'm watching it on TV. It really is good. The manual start, which is another thing they've added as part of the simulation, is actually really good. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it is really good. It has a few issues, which I'll explain in a moment. But genuinely, a good start is now really important. A bad one will destroy all of the hard work that you've done. It is that simple. It comes down to a millisecond whether you've got a good start or a bad start. It actually makes a difference now, and I'm really glad to say that. Clearly, the tracks look miles better. They feel better. They're not laser scanned, so it's not 100% accurate on the track, but the track itself is way more accurate. It feels much better. Everything about the tracks is better, except for the ambience, which doesn't exist. There's actually a bit of foliage around. You know, it actually is starting to feel like you're at the track rather than on an arcade game. It's getting there, slowly. Arguably, the physics are improved, especially in the wet. It's not realistic exactly, but it's definitely something to work with. You do have to have a bit of throttle control and a bit of brake control. Not to the degree I'd like to see, but it's definitely improved. And arguably, each bike model within each class feels unique, which is quite a cool thing. I'm not entirely 100% sold on this, to be honest. It's more like the AI in terms of difference. Like a bit of extra grip is given to that bike rather than that bike, and that one's a little bit faster than that one. And the acceleration or the top end is a little bit faster on this one or that one. You know, it's very arcadey in its differences. It doesn't really, because the physics are not that good, it doesn't feel that good. But yeah, I mean, they are different. So you will find one that you like better than another one. At least that's something, I think. Anyway, there's lots of new equipment, brands, helmets, kind of. Basically, it's the same helmet model every single time, and it's just a reskin. I'm not going to bother going through the name because there's quite a few actually. We've added quite a few this year, which is nice to see. Some people might be happy with that, but to be honest with you, all it makes me think is, well, why haven't you unlocked modding for the Steam Workshop? Because we can make those skins and you can drop your overinflated prices. Does that make sense? Either make the models, like physically each helmet is accurate to the helmet that you're representing, or open up modding and let us make our own skins. That's how I feel about it, to be honest. There are some negatives, some of which are pretty big, some of which are pretty poor, but things like the manager career is gone, as is the mechanic. Now this is a stupid decision by Milestone. This is the first positive thing I said about MotoGP 17 was the inclusion of both of these things. It's the best thing they've done in years, and they drop it immediately. The very next release, gone. How ridiculous. Now I understand they've moved to the Unreal Engine, there's probably an issue around that. If they released a statement saying they were going to include that in a month's time for free, then brilliant. I mean, outstandingly good. But to just cut it out and not explain why or say if it's coming back or whatever, I think that's pretty disrespectful, to be honest with you. People were expecting at least MotoGP 17 with some improvements, and that is a huge amount of content they've taken out of the game. And I think that's disgusting. I'm not happy about that at all, but still, even with that, I still recommend this game because it is so much better. It feels so much better. It's the first MotoGP game since 08 or 13, probably 13, that I've actually wanted to play. I've actually enjoyed playing. First one in years, and I've bought every single one. And this is the first one. I've wasted all that money, and this is the first time I don't feel like that money has been wasted. Now, it's Unreal 4 engine, the wheels are blurry, I've mentioned this. I am interested to see whether the same applies to Assetto Corsa with their new release, the name of which escapes me. Apologies, you know what it is, let me know in the comments. But I'll be interested to see if Assetto Corsa have found a way to fix that, because they'll be the first people to do it if they can do it. If not, that's going to look terrible for Assetto Corsa. But anyway, there are some pet peeves as well, like when you're in the pits, you have to leave the pits on autopilot. I hate this. It's 2018. What the hell is going on? I mentioned earlier, first person looks spectacular. Again, thanks to the Unreal 4 engine, the sheen on the windshield. Oh my god, it looks wonderful. But it's in a fixed position. You cannot turn your head. There's no head tracking available. If this game had track IR, then this feature would be fantastic and I would race nothing else. It would be the best ever. Now, what's interesting is, on MotoGP 17, playing in third person was okay. But actually, I don't like playing in third person, to be honest with you. For one thing, it's too bloody easy. But I found playing in first person was pretty good on MotoGP 18. Now, maybe it's because it's running better, maybe it's because it's got more lean angles, I don't know, maybe I'm just completely out of practice. But on MotoGP 18, in first person, it's horrible. I hate it. I absolutely detest it. So I've actually been playing in third person because I couldn't swallow MotoGP 18 in first person. Now that might not affect you in the same way, but this is just my opinion. I'm telling you my perspective, so just understand and appreciate that. Also, having said that, I find the game isn't hard enough. It's not realistic enough. I've got all assists turned off, everything's on pro, and I still think it's too easy. It's especially too easy to recover when you're riding badly, when you go off track, because you can have like off-track assistance on or off, so I turn that off, obviously, because if I balls up, I want to be punished for it. But it's so easy to recover, it's not realistic at all. And as a noob, I make mistakes all over the bloody place. And I should be off the bike, I should be smashing into a wall, I shouldn't even be finishing the race. I shouldn't be coming in with faster lap times than Robbo 46, and I certainly shouldn't be finishing races in the same position that he manages. He is much better at this game than I am. I am a complete noob, and yet we match each other pretty closely. Now, to be fair, he's more consistent than me, so in a race he'd win. But, you know, I shouldn't be at that level right from the get-go. I shouldn't be given that much leniency to make that many mistakes. It's just too bloody easy. This is on pro, by the way. If that was the case for, beginners, people with all the assists and help on, then I'm fine with that. But I want to play pro level. Well, it's hard. Really hard. Anyway, again, that's just me. That's what I'm looking for. Hardcore ultimate realism. The AI, I've mentioned this, they're all the same. They're on a rail. They're stuck to the racing line. They don't avoid you unless they touch you. And dive bombing is back. They'll dive bomb up the inside of you. This was promoted as a new feature. More attacking AI. If they see a gap, they're going to take it. No, they're not actively looking for a gap and exploiting your slight mistake. They're just dive bombing in with some extra speed that doesn't really exist. And this is easy to see because their braking is suddenly considerably better. So they'll come past you at a ridiculous speed and then just slow down at a ridiculous speed. It's dive bombing. It's not real. It's like rubber band effect. It's not real. It's not realistic. It's not physics. It's not good. So yes, back to the review. There is tyre wear. There is bike damage apparently, but this doesn't seem to affect the AI at all. I haven't seen any evidence of it. And unlike MotoGP 17, do you remember there was that big promotion where they said, the AI will make mistakes and they'll accidentally go off the track unexpectedly, they'll brake too late or whatever. That's all gone. I haven't seen any of that happening. It's another missing feature. It's another step back from MotoGP 17. I'm not happy about that. I really am not. Another thing I'm really not happy about is the lack of animation on the rider when you're changing gear. If you're in third person especially, there's no indication that you're going up and down the gears, the hands don't move, the feet don't move, there's nothing. There's nothing at all, no animation whatsoever. This is just outrageous. Did they forget to do it, or did they just decide not to do it because it was quicker? What the hell? Some explaining needs to occur around this, it really does. For me, collisions look better, but my god are they short. Especially on Pro. When you're running Pro, they're way too short. They're so short, they're almost insignificant. You're just up and away far too quickly. It's not realistic at all. It almost doesn't matter if you crash because you're going to be up and away so quick. You're probably not even going to lose a place. That's just pathetic when you're racing on Pro. It does look like the real thing, like you're watching it on telly, but my god, it doesn't feel like the real thing. It's still not there. The physics, this is why I say arguably they're better. The bike can be more twitchy, you do need to have control, it does lean better, there are significant betterments there, but I'm not sure I'd say that they were real physics. It just feels like they've got the arcade to feel more realistic, rather than actually putting time and effort into the physics. That's how it feels. It's difficult to explain, but if you've raced it, you probably understand what I mean. But if you haven't played the game, it's not going to help you a great deal. It does feel 100% better, but it doesn't feel real. It's not easy to explain. Another thing that I find quite irritating, again, this comes back to physics and arcade issues. When you're leaning the bike in, when you're going into a turn, the wheels on the bike kind of slide out from under you. Rather than you leaning over and going into the corner, you kind of pivot. So if someone stuck a kebab skewer through the bike, through the back and out the front, out the front headlight, that's how you turn, which you might say is realistic. But it would be realistic if the wheels were sort of anchored to the floor, but they're not. They slide across the track. They physically move. So if you lean to the right, you'll see that the tyres physically slide to the left. Now I think possibly this is how they've increased the lean speed. It does feel more responsive when you lean in and you turn. It does feel more instant than it ever has done before, and I think maybe that's how they've done it, because you're effectively twisting rather than leaning in. It doesn't look good. I mean, it feels okay, but I think that's probably why it doesn't feel realistic as well, because it doesn't feel realistic at all. But it looks terrible. It looks terrible. Just look out for it on any video you watch. You'll see it. It's so obvious. Bugs, yes, I did mention this. Setups are not retained, for me at least. The manual start, which is brilliant by the way, but it won't let you put the bike into gear for 5 seconds after the race has begun. So this kind of puts you under a bit of pressure. I've also had some issues with the TCS settings not being retained, and also a couple of times, it might be my controller, but a couple of times when I'm holding the clutch waiting to start, despite having not let go of any button, the clutch engages and I get a stop-start penalty, which is quite annoying, to be honest. But that could be my controller. I suppose it's quite old. It might be time to replace it. I'm not sure. I can't be 100% on that, so just take that as a hearsay, if you will. Another irritation, when you're in the pits and you want to skip to the end of the session, you can't. There's no option to do it. You have to go out onto track to do that. That's just a stupid oversight. Easy fix, but come on. If you started giving your game out to YouTubers, this stuff would be picked up way before release, and you could fix it instead of us having to complain about it all the time. The game does crash occasionally, especially in replays, as you'll see in this video. Okay, I'm sure this will all be fixed with patches, along with the button issues and other stupid things. But that kind of stuff I'm not too bothered about, because they've moved over to the Unreal 4 engine. So I did expect some bugs and issues and stuff, so I can kind of live with that. The audio is basically cut and paste from MotoGP 16, possibly MotoGP 17. There's no ambiance, there's no You know, there's no noise around the track. If your bike's off and you've sat there on your own, it's absolutely silent, other than the noise of the other bikes in the distance. It's pretty poor, to be honest. The tracks, although they look better, they're not dynamic. You cannot affect them. There is arguably tyre wear, but the weather is not dynamic either. The weather, if it's raining, does affect the track, but because it's not dynamic weather, it all feels a bit fake, to be honest. It's okay, but it's not great. A lot more could be done. In 2018, you know, they have very little competition. They should be pushing the boundaries of their abilities, not just sitting in their comfort zone and releasing small, more or less insignificant changes. In career, you need XP points in order to make changes. I'm not a fan of this. I've never been a fan of this. What's wrong with prize money? You know, have everything unlocked and then improve in order to earn more money, in order to improve your bike and earn more money. To improve your bike and earn more money. You know, just like in the real world. I'd prefer that a huge amount more than this stupid XP thing. I've never liked it. Anyway, rant over. Despite all of the negatives and all of the steps backwards for MotoGP 17, this is the best MotoGP that I have played in years. And I actually do want to play this one. It's not perfect, and if you're on console, then I think you've been conned, basically. It's more expensive than it is on PC, and it's half as good. I think you've been absolutely conned. And I feel so sorry for you guys on console, I really do. For the PC hardcore sim players and arcade players, this really is the best gameplay for a MotoGP game that I have seen in years. You've got to balance that out with the worst AI and lack of content and the poor polish. But, you know, I think what Milestone need to do is look at gaming companies like Hinterland Studios Incorporated. They've just brought out a massive, free system overhaul because their player base wanted the change. This took time, cost them money, and it was a very complex change. So complex, in fact, that it's changed the entire underlying system. But they did this to make a better game that their player base would enjoy. That's what we need from Milestone, is that commitment to the player, to the game itself. I heartily recommend, by the way, that you get behind Hinterland Studios Incorporated and go buy The Long Dark. It's a very good game, and they are improving it considerably. Very good game indeed. That being said, MotoGP 18, best MotoGP 8. It's the best MotoGP that I've played since 13. And I do recommend it because it is a lot of fun. If you're on console, that decision has to be up to you. Go and watch people like Robbo46, who does play on a console, and see what he thinks about it. It's noticeably slower, I would say. Watching him play in comparison to playing myself, it just feels much better at 60, 90 FPS. So these are my thoughts and opinions, guys. I'd be very interested to hear your own thoughts and opinions. I don't want to get into an argument with you. We all have our own thoughts and opinions. This is just my take on the game over years of having played this game and not really liking any of them. But this one does feel different, and I do recommend it. Anyway, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. Take care. Till next time. Goodbye for now.